Okay, so I always say that I'm connected to agriculture because I always say my heart's in agriculture.
Okay.
But my heart is not in agriculture because I grew up on a farm. I'm actually kind of a city girl for sure. But one of the things is that I started my journalism career in agriculture. So, but you have a different story. You have a connection back to potatoes.
I do, yeah. So I grew up the first few years of my life anyway, before I was an underage tractor driver. My parents actually farmed potatoes with my grandparents. So spent a lot of time eating ham sandwiches on the truck to unload some potatoes in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
But our family actually sold out in 97. So I was young, didn't have a lot of say at the table, obviously back then.
Yeah.
So played a lot of hockey, and I think that might have had a lot of the reasoning behind the decision. My parents wanted to be able to follow that. So grew up still in that rural community. We actually lived 100 meters from the old farm. So It was bought by somebody that's now my customer, which is pretty cool. So have that commonality there. I actually went to university for pharmacy, lived with two Aggies that slowly turned my A's into B's maybe. I don't want to point fingers or anything, but they were having a lot of fun. So and I don't know why I tried so hard to get away from the industry because I love it so much. So
Right.
ended up graduating with a bachelor's degree in science in agronomy.
Yeah.
Got my job at Bayer Crop Science where I managed a territory which mainly had broadacre crops.
Okay.
So canola, soybeans, corn, and all that. Spent 5 years doing that. And then I got a tap on the shoulder about 3 years ago from Bayer asking me if I'd be interested in taking on the potato portfolio. So
Bringing you full circle.
full circle back to potatoes, and I haven't looked back since. I was hesitant at the time.
What was the hesitation?
I was pretty content. The territory that I managed was home for me.
Okay.
So many of the customers that I had were friends, which sometimes that could be a hurdle.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too much like I drink some Bayer Kool-Aid, but I'm fortunate enough where our portfolio is very strong.
Right.
So it was honestly easy. I just provided those solutions to friends, right?
Right.
And had that trusted, the respect from them and the trust. So that went a long way. But my rubber arm was twisted by the predecessor, Bill Moon's, actually, not wanting to name drop or on no means.
Yeah.
But he just kind of gave me a rundown, and then I followed him for about 6 months, basically a toddler in the passenger seat transferring his brain into a OneNote document that I still use today.
But this time you weren't underage.
This time, no, I was not underage. And sometimes he did make me drive, probably to limit my questions that day. But here I am. Yeah, I've been very happy. Developed a lot of relationships in the industry. So main responsibilities are Manitoba and Saskatchewan, but I also have some national responsibilities specific to potatoes for Bayer.
Going back for a second, you said that you were providing solutions for your friends. So
Yeah.
obviously when you were on the farm in that tractor following grandpa around or following your dad around, you wouldn't have had an idea of what challenges potato producers today face, but you obviously do now. So was that what you were talking about in terms of solutions?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've never been the type to just kind of promote the product. I'd rather ask the question on what the challenges are on your operation.
Right.
And then see if I have a product that might be able to solve that problem, right?
Right.
So usually start by asking a lot of questions, and then if there's something in our portfolio that fits that need, then we kind of go into the why that will solve that problem or why it will help that problem.
Yeah.
So that's much better I prefer doing business that manner.
Right.
So that was kind of, and maybe it had a lot to do with how it was with my friends. I didn't want to be perceived as some sales guy by no means. So that's how I learned how to have these conversations in agriculture.
Yep.
And I've just transitioned that into the whole potato sector that I'm in now.
And the great thing is that you are backed at Bayer with two really innovative products that are solution driven, right? Both Velum and Minuet have been our top innovator products for 2023 and 2024 for Spud Smart.
Yeah, we're on a roll, I guess, in the last 2 years. So I like to speak about Velum as a brand. We have two Velum products, so Velum Prime and Velum Rise.
Okay.
Velum Rise is what won in 2024 as the top 10. What we did is, so the two actives in the tank there are flupyram and penflufen.
Okay.
what we did is old Velum Prime, not old, it's not that old. It was just the straight flupyram. So that's where it's a more of a fungicide disease prevention type product. What we added to it was penflufen, which again just covers off another list of diseases that a lot of our customers face early season.
Right.
So an in-furrow product, as well as Minuet, which Minuet, new name, not a new product per se.
Okay.
Many people still know it as Serenade. Serenade has been around for quite a few years, but what we did is we concentrated it.
Okay.
And renamed it, I guess, in Canada. They still call it Serenade in the States. And again, in-furrow product. And the quote that I like to say on Minuet is it does a little bit on a lot of things. So it's a nice complement to everything else in the jug, where Fusarium, Pythium has some activity on pink rot. And we're honestly not a new product or not a new active, but we're still learning.
Right.
We still have a division in Germany that spends a lot of time researching that active because we keep finding new cool things that it's bringing to the table. So
no new innovative product for 2025 though.
No. So I don't know what I can all share, but there was a little bit of a delay in something that we will be able to talk about next year.
Okay.
So I might have to take a year off in the top 10, but I'm hoping that it'll be selected in 2026 when we get to talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So both of those products that you talked about are for this spring. I mean, we're talking about planting, right?
Yes.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
So we're in winter right now.
Yep.
When should we start as a grower? When do I start thinking about that?
I think as soon as the harvest hangover is done. So it's pretty high demand. It's very busy. There's a lot of hours that are put in harvest, where I don't like to bug any of my customers too soon after harvest. I usually do a little bit of drop-ins during just to see if I can help out. And as we chat, I usually pick a little bit of dirt off the belts and stuff like that. But mostly just ground control, making sure that their expectations are met with anything from me, and then just to see what they're willing to share and if they come across any new challenges.
Yeah.
So usually a couple of weeks after harvest is when these conversations start happening. It changes farm to farm. Some people like to make decisions before December.
Yeah.
Others usually tell me to come back in January, which is such a busy month for everybody in the industry, as you would know too, where we're traveling all over the place for whether it's conferences, meetings, and stuff like that. So I would say February is a very popular time to make those early season decisions. We have a lot of hurdles, and it takes a lot of time to bring an active to market.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of money as well to do that. So, and diseases don't have that hurdle, right? So they can evolve depending on practices. We can find new issues, new challenges that need to be brought to our attention. And I encourage growers, producers, everybody that's involved in the industry, if there's an issue, talk about it, bring it up. Somebody might have already looked into it.
Yeah.
There might be somebody researching it already where they could potentially provide you a solution. Might not be something that we can blanket across acres anywhere, because there's probably not a label for it.
Right.
But at least it'll pressure some of the companies like Bayer Crop Science to maybe push PRMRA a little bit harder so that we can bring more solutions to the market to help growers produce the crops that they want to grow. And then all those McDonald's fries that come out of production here. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic message, actually, because I think sometimes we still think of innovation as scary or non-traditional. And I think growers today are starting to realize that innovation is what's going to keep the farm going.
100%, right? And then a lot of, I guess, the trend in agriculture, not just on the potato side of thing, is we're trying to produce more on less acres.
Of course.
Right? So that's, again, no different in potatoes, where the pressure is high because population is growing. More and more people are, I guess, needing food and all of that, right? So so just to meet the needs of the consumers, while checking all the boxes that we have to with optics and all that in the industry. So that's another thing I guess I could mention is we don't talk about it enough. The agriculture community is pretty small, I would say, on the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And it's something that if anybody's comfortable in front of a camera, more comfortable than I am, or Dawn, yeah, I encourage them to start speaking out, because the perception in a lot of the urban centers maybe are more negative than they should be. And it's really one conversation can change that. So I encourage people to just talk more about it. Give some more facts. Don't let the internet, depending on where you're looking on the internet, give you your conclusion on what we do here on farms and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because it is important, and there's no way that we'd be able to feed the population that we have without the innovation that we've had in the last 20, 50 years.
Absolutely. It's about that balance for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.